Star Citizen patch 3.13 finally brought greater utility to the P52 Merlin, which has been strapped to the underside of the Constellation for years. Now it's sometimes able to deploy and recover to the Constellation, and as such is a true snub fighter. But is it fun to fly? I'm Forrester, and in this video I review the Star Citizen ship, the currently flyable Kruger P52 Merlin. Somewhat uniquely, this is a single-seater fighter which is almost entirely dependent on another ship to ferry it around. For those of you who've seen other ship reviews on this channel, you'll know the drill by now. This video is split into 5 sections, starting with a ship tour, assessing combat performance, reviewing handling and visibility, looking at the operating costs before finally summarising. I've included timestamps in the video description to help navigate to each part of the review, and if you're one of the 3/4 of people watching who isn't yet subscribed to the channel, you may choose to subscribe to be notified of future videos. Part 1. Ship Tour. Many players will step into their P52 from their Constellation, walk to Section D at the back of the ship, hop in, power up and press landing gear to undock. From a landed P52 Merlin, you'll enter via the left or port side next to the canopy. You climb up from there and into the ship. And the externals of this ship are truly wonderful, with sleek lines and reflective surfaces, plus the somewhat unique placement of the cockpit at the rear of the P52, this little snub fighter is certainly stylish. Part 2. Combat performance. So it's important to point out here that although it's theoretically possible to end up in combat alone, in the vast majority of situations this ship is likely to be providing backup to the Constellation mothership. Which is good, because as a snub fighter, the P52 is only lightly armed. The main armament is a long size 2 ballistic Gatling gun running down the length of the fuselage. It's a fixed weapon and integral to the hull, so cannot be swapped out. That's supplemented by 2 gimbaled size 1 weapons on the wingtips. There are no missiles, and so that limited firepower is all the P52 offers. That means that against larger ships, it's often flirting with being ineffective. But against very small, nimble targets, that firepower is sufficient to be a genuine threat. And if the P52 is supplementing the firepower of a Constellation, that means that, in theory, it can help to cover blind spots and give attackers something else to think about. With a single size 1 shield generator, the Merlin really isn't strong defensively, although it does carry missile countermeasures to help defend itself. This is a ship that you want to use the speed and manoeuvrability of to avoid taking hits. Part 3. Handling and visibility. Let's start with talking about visibility here, because the P52 is mostly cockpit. The canopy offers really excellent visibility all around, with a small strut being the only real obstruction. It's a shame it wasn't moved further back. It is a little weird seeing the nose out to your front and does take some getting used to. You'd think that the P52 is fast, and it sort of is. It has good acceleration, but the top speed at just over 1000 meters per second is quite a lot slower than some other smaller ships. But those tend not to be combat speeds, and given the anticipated role of this ship as defending a Constellation, if somebody is running, that's probably not a bad thing. The handling of the Merlin is really great though. Something to do with where the thrusters are placed gives this ship the feeling of being really nicely in balance, and as the pilot that gives you the confidence to throw it around. Usually, at this point of the review, I complain about the stock quantum drive. Not here, because the Merlin doesn't have one, and can't equip one. Instead, it's reliant on either incredibly slow travel speeds, or hitching a ride on something bigger. Part 4. Operating costs. As you might expect, if you do need to refuel, repair or rearm the P52, it's really cheap to do so. One thing to be careful of is refueling separately to the Constellation, however, as sometimes that will replace the Merlin on the Constellation and you'll end up with another ship in the place you want to dock to. As far as making money with a Merlin, this is a tough part to review, because although the Merlin is quite capable at lower threat level combat missions, it's really reliant on hopping a ride on something bigger in order to actually get there. So it's usually more of a supporting act rather than the main event. Part 5. The verdict. So I should point out here, I've talked a lot about using the Merlin with the Constellation, which is the ideal pairing, but of course it's possible to pair a Merlin with a wide range of other ships, and if you search what fits in my ship, you'll see that the Merlin is often a popular choice. That gives it some real versatility to be a snub for lots of ships and not just a Constellation. It's really fun to fly, and often deploying, fighting, and then docking is a great feeling. But then, in this early alpha implementation, you're just as likely to undock and explode for seemingly no reason. And if you do end up in a fight, you need to be careful not to get shot at too much, or you'll explode from that. But then, it is really fun to fly. I guess what I'm getting at is there's a trade-off. If you do hop in, you have to be prepared for the fact that you're not as well protected as whoever is flying the mothership, and with no quantum drive, you can't exactly just fly back. This is somewhat mitigated by the medical bed on the Carrack, but still, it's a tough one. Thankfully, the in-game price for the P52 is really cheap. At less than 150,000 Alpha UEC, this is a ship you and your friends can unlock quickly before seeing how many you can fit in your Mercury Star Runner. Out of game, it's only really offered for sale in limited sales, and due to the lack of quantum drive, I really wouldn't recommend it. The P52 is highly situational, which is great if you're in that situation, but more often than not, it'll sit in your hangar. But do you agree? Have you been flying the P52 in the latest patch? Let me know in the comments. And if you've enjoyed this video, you might be interested in my recent review of the Origin 85X as an alternative. Otherwise, thank you for watching.